No matter what challenges life throws at her, she handles them with grace and compassion. She is someone that I look up to because of her dedication and love for her brother Mike and all the important people in her life. So now I'm going to turn the mic over to Regina so she can talk about her journey with cancer and how foundations like the 4 Diamonds Fund can make a difference.
So, my brother Mike is the baby. He is the cutest thing in the world. I mean, when he was, okay, so every child sucks after they turn 12. Like, we all know that. If you have younger siblings, you know it's no fun. But Mike, he wasn't bad until 12 and a half, so he was a gift, a godsend. But when he was 11, actually, it was July 24th, 2014, we were down the shore. It was just me, my mom, Frank, and Mike, his twin. And so Mike had decided to surprise my mom. He was like, Regina, can you stay in bed? I want to do the chores for mom so that I can get a gift. And I was like, yeah, sure, no big deal, Mike. So he did all my mom's chores and surprised her when she got back from church. And then my mom was like, oh my God, Mike, you have to go to Five Below and get something, go pick something out. And he was like, yes, his plan worked. So I stayed home because I wanted to sleep in. And Frank and Mike, with my mom, went to Five Below, and I was like, oh, I have 2 hours to myself. This is great. But within a half an hour, they came home, and I was like, oh, this is so annoying. I just want time by myself. But when I came home, Mike had an airplane pillow wrapped around his leg, and he was like, oh, I need a soda. I'm having a rough day. And he had bruises on his arms, and I was like, this is so weird. Mike, it was so odd. And I asked my mom, I was like, Mike, Mom, what happened to Mike? Why is he so out of it? And she was like, I don't know. I think he forgot to overeat, so he fainted outside Five Below. And I was like, what? Mike never forgets to overeat. That's his thing. He's my chubby little baby. He does not forget to eat. So immediately I was like, that is a total lie. That is not what happened. And I was like, this is so weird. So I remember going up to Mike. And I was like, Mike, what happened? He's like, oh man, all that plastic in Five Below, it's really making me feel sick. And I went outside, I just fell over, all that plastic's ruining the global, all that. And he went on a tangent. And I was like, okay. And he was like, I made Mom buy me an airplane pillow, and then I had to use it to clean up my blood. And I was like, oh, okay. So I took off this neon green, horribly stuffed airplane pillow, and he had this huge gash on his leg. And I was like, oh, this isn't good. So we bandaged it, but it didn't stop bleeding. And that was the first sign to me. I was like, this isn't good. Mike doesn't faint. He doesn't bleed. He doesn't overbleed. There's something out of whack. So the next day, my dad was like, okay, come home a couple days early. We'll get Mike to pediatric medical. My family has a history of blood issues, anemia, thyroid issues, etc. So we weren't that worried. And he went to pediatric medical and came back with these hormone pills. And he comes up to me and he knocks on my door. He's like, guess what? And I'm like, what? He's like, I'm on birth control. And I was like, what? Why are you on birth control? He's like, birth control at all? I did not understand it. His 28-year-old sister's not on birth control. So I was like, this is so weird. And he's like, yeah, apparently my hormones are messed up and I have anemia just like Mom. And I was like, oh, that's a shame. Did not think any of it. And then we were watching American Ninja Warrior, and my whole family, and he was sitting there, he's like, I don't even know how to take birth control. It looks like mints, and he was freaking out. And then my dad came up to him and he was like, Mike, you're so pale. You look like you're sick. Take it like a man, He's like, it's not even a man's medication. And it was a whole thing. And I was like, this is so weird. Why is this happening? And so we all went to sleep. And my dad, he's a big man, so he sleeps a long amount of time. He gets his sleep, he's not woken, and he snores. That's just always how he's been, but for whatever reason, that night after Mike took his first birth control medication, he could not sleep. He was up every hour on the hour. He was like, oh, I have this pit in my stomach, there's something waking me up. I keep having nightmares. And I was like, this is so weird. My dad just doesn't have that. So he had woken up around 5. And around 5:30, our phones were being worked on, so they didn't ring and they didn't work. But we could still see the caller ID on our TV. My dad never watches TV unless it's the Godfather special on Easter. That is it. Other than that, there's nothing he's watching. And so I was like, okay. But around 5:30, my grandmom's number came up and he was like, oh no, what if she had surgery earlier? What if it didn't go well? And he picked up and she was like, hey, do you have any missed calls? He was like, no, I can't check, my phone's down. She was like, I woke up, I had like 8 missed calls from pediatric medical. They said, you had to take Mike down to CHOP right now. And, my dad has said he's had a gun put in his face, he's had a knife to his throat because of threats from work. The most scared he's ever been has been when he got that call, because he thought, my little baby, my 7th kid, being rushed to CHOP just doesn't sound good. So I remember my mom waking me up, and she was like, hey, like, we have to go to CHOP, no big deal, they probably just want some money from us. And I was like, okay, Mom, like, go ahead. And then I woke up around 2 p.m., like most teenagers do in July, and my parents still weren't home, and I was like, oh, that's weird. And then I called them, they weren't picking up. I was like, oh, they forgot their chargers, that's so annoying, they're so annoying, oh, I'm so annoyed. And to make a long story short, they weren't home for a whole week with no cell phone. We really didn't know what happened at home, because my older sister, Catherine, who's 18, like Billy, Mary, and Danny, my oldest siblings, they were all at work in college. They weren't picking up their phones, and we were really confused because my grandma was coming over every day, like, hey, here's some food, like, let me know what you need. And like, I honestly had no clue what was happening. I was so confused, but there was a gut feeling. Within a week, Mike was diagnosed with leukemia. We were told that was going to be a rare form of anemia, but it ended up being a lot worse than that. And I'm not going to get emotional, but basically they said he's not going to be home till Christmas if he makes it. And we were like, oh, lovely, that's all what we wanted to hear, that's so great. And I remember the first time I visited him, he was getting a bone marrow transplant for the first time. And they were all like, he's going to be in such a bad mood, like, don't test him, Regina, like, you like to fight with them, just don't do anything. And I knew my limits, and I thought, okay, I just won't think anything of it. And I walked into the room, and those rooms, they are tiny, especially, like, I have a big family, and they're small rooms, and it's all 9 of us there with my cousins and my grandparents, and I'm like, hey, Mike. He's like, come on in, what's up? Want some Doritos? I'm having a great day. The nurses just said I was the cutest kid they've seen in 3 days. And I was like, that's awesome, Mike. Did you have your surgery? He's like, oh, yeah, man, like, my back's killing me. I feel like I'm Dad's age. Like, I don't know what's happening. And I was like, Dad, like, did he just get a bone marrow transplant? Like, football players quit their career for that. He's like, yeah, I think this kid's high or something. I don't know what's happening. But apparently, he just never felt side effects, which I took as a good sign. So the whole month of August was hard for my family, and I think adjusting to cancer is one of the hardest things. First being when you don't know what's happening and you're watching someone you love go through something. That's the worst. And then the second would just be adjusting, because you have a big family, you fight with them, and I'm lucky enough to take them for granted. And before you know it, your whole family's together silently staring at a little boy on a hospital bed, and it's not comforting, and it's just hard. That was the hardest part. And luckily on August 28th, they said, all right, Mike, go get your bags, you're coming home. We were like, whoa, wait, he's coming home, and he came home 3 months early. So we took that as a good sign, and Mike was back to like a semi-normal self. He had some surgeries done, but he was hacked up on steroids. He was like a balloon. I could just throw him around. He had all his hair. He couldn't button his shirts anymore because his stomach was so big. He was just a happy kid, and I was so grateful for that. So I don't like the medical stuff is hard to talk about. You don't know what methotrexate is. You don't know what these chemos are, and they're not fun to talk about. But basically, it's good to understand that even though Mike, I describe him as this like lively, fun kid because he's always been that way. Like even now as a 13-year-old teen, he's still this like fun, sweet, energetic thing. But it's important to understand the medical part because you realize, your parents go through surgeries and you get worried. Your grandparents go through surgeries and your parents are worried. When a kid has to go through surgeries and when a kid's in a hospital for a week, out of the hospital for a week, for 3 months, it's a different feeling. I think the whole world sympathizes. So, I'm not going to talk about medical stuff. So, one thing I think that's important that I talked to Mike today. I was like, he couldn't come because he had gotten a stomach bug, got us all sick, and he's kind of grounded. So he couldn't come. Yeah, he wasn't grounded. We were all complaining, all 7 of us. Then when my dad got sick, yeah, Mike was grounded. So The day he got back from the hospital, he was like, Regina, we have to play the new Mario game the nurses gave me. We have to. I was like, yeah, sure, like no big deal, because I secretly love Mario games, and I felt like I was getting a gift too. And he took me on he was like, let's go in my room, I haven't seen him forever. And I was so annoyed. Me and my Uncle Marty, who's a clean freak, spent 3 days disinfecting his room. And he walks in, he's like, oh, I can't believe this. And I was like, what's up, Mike? Like, I just cleaned your room for 3 days. He's like, I had a bag of chips when I left, and they're gone. I was like, Mike, we'll get you new chips. Let's play the game. So a couple hours go by, and we're playing the game. And I don't know what went over me, and I'm still embarrassed to this day to say it, but I looked at him, and I was trying to be nice, trying to be funny, like I try to do, and I was like, Mike, like, it's weird, right? And he's like, what's weird, Regina, that you're losing? And I was like, no. It's weird that, you know, you're the sibling that got cancer. I don't know why I said it. I still apologize about it to this day. But apparently I thought that was an okay thing to say when I was 15 years old. And I was like, oh, I knew as soon as I said, I was like, Mike's gonna kill me. I'm gonna get grounded. My dad's an emotional wreck. What am I gonna do? This is horrible. And I think this was one of the most important things that ever happened to me in my life. Mike puts down his game, and he's like, yeah, that's weird. I was like, what? Like, no, you can yell at me, Mike, it's fine. I deserve it. He goes, no. I think, you know, it's weird. It's really weird. I don't like having this thing in my chest, because he had a port in his chest, and he went, but it's life. And I was like, whoa, I don't know who taught you, but you're not supposed to be smarter than I am. I'm supposed to be the smartest Brennan kid. And I remember at that moment, I was so taken back. I was like, oh my God, like that's so true, you know? It's weird, but it's life. And I think that explains the reason why you're here, because this little 11-year-old boy who had almost terminal illness stuck inside his body and didn't know if he was gonna make it to Christmas, looked at me and could make me smile and could teach me about life, a lesson I didn't know, and I thought I knew the world by then. He told me it's weird because it's life. It's weird because it's life. And I thought about it for days. I was like, what does that mean? I had to dissect it, but that's just what it means. It means that these crazy and these weird and these horrific things like cancer happen to beautiful people. They happen to dogs, they happen to adults, they happen to parents, and they happen most importantly to kids. I'm a little biased, but I really think that pediatric cancer can be some of the worst. And evidently some of the best, because it is this evil, dark shadow coming over not only parents, and not only me, not only a sibling, but the most beautiful part of life, which is just being a kid. I mean, like, I'm 17, and I still wish I was, like, 8 years old and had no worries in the world and didn't have to think about college and didn't have to think about career. I'm always envious of children, and even when Mike was sick, I was envious, because the truth is that kids are the most pure, the most beautiful, and the most natural sign of life. They're unaffected by tribulation. They go into the world and they complain about school and they take naps and they come home and they're happy. If you're a sibling, you're their only friend then. You don't really make good friends until, you know, late grade school, early high school, you know? You aren't tainted. And that is why what you're doing today is so important. Because I remember Mike, he would always be like, oh, yeah, like I met this girl Tammy today at CHOP. She's really sweet. Or I met this kid John. I remember this one girl, Keisha, he loved. She was like 14, she was really cool. She had heart disease, heart tumor or something. I don't really remember the details, but you know, he would have a friend one day and then lose one a couple months later, because you know, cancer, it doesn't care about its victims. It just takes. It takes and takes and takes. But regardless of it's not quid pro quo, you don't necessarily gain something from cancer, you gain from the experience. So, I mean, I spent, in retrospect, so much of my time trying to glue pieces back together that couldn't be put back together. I thought I had to fix the world, you know, I lost this control, I have to find control somewhere else. It's just not realistic. Instead, I gained experiences. I learned that Mike's cancer is the worst and the best thing to ever happen to me. being in that hospital, meeting children who are bald and sickly, and they come up to you and they say hello and they ask you what your name is, and they say, oh, for therapy today, I have to make a new friend. Do you want to be my friend? They're beautiful, beautiful, beautiful human beings, and I mean that word so genuinely. There are so many words that we just throw out all the time. We say love and literally and all these words, but beautiful is one word I will never say in a fake way. Every face I saw at CHOP, every parent, every cousin, every nurse, every doctor, every child, most importantly, was so beautiful. And I think that's why you're here, because these beautiful humans, they need you. They need the research, because if you think about it, what if the cure for cancer is locked in the confines of one of these children's mind? What if that they have the cure and they can do something for themselves because they went through it? And what you're doing now is beautiful, it's inspirational, and it touches me deeply to think that, we're dancing now in the hopes that next year the kids we're dancing for will dance with us, or they'll dance with their parents, or maybe CHOP will afford bigger rooms and they can dance in their rooms, because that's what I would like personally. So, yeah, that's really the base of it all. When you go through one of these things, your life completely changes. The Brennan clan is not the same clan it was in 2011 than it is now. It wasn't, and it's not the same as it was when Mike got sick. We're so much better now. I love my family so much more, and I can say, I said it earlier, I'm lucky enough to have taken them for granted. I'm lucky enough to get to fight with them. I'm lucky enough to say, hey, Mike's been in remission for 3 years. He has 2 more years to go, and then he's done with chemo. That's what I'm lucky enough to say. But some parents aren't, some families aren't, and that's what we have to remember. I can say funny stories about Mike because he's still with me. And if he was gone, I don't know if I would have that strength. So when you dance tonight, it's important to remember that when you dance, you're dancing in the hopes that a family gets to dance another day with their child, a child gets to dance another day in their dreams, and a million new ballerinas and new dancers and choreographers are created through their struggles and are inspired through us. Because, not to be a narcissist, but I think what we're doing is pretty awesome. It makes us really, really cool people. So, regardless of how much money you make, even if you only give $1, most of that is going to creating a better world and saving a generation, and thus saving millions of generations, because they continue on mostly forever until the world ends. And that's the beautiful thing. That is the very beautiful thing about what you're doing. So, as a sister, as a lover of my brother, as a deep, 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 deep person who talks too much and rambles, I just want to say thank you, because you are saving not only my brother's, but a million more children's lives. So.